If you've been watching YouTube, scrolling social media, or talking to your buddies at the range, you may have heard several different takes on what's happening in politics surrounding suppressors and SBRs. They can range from, "We won! There's no more gun laws, I'm buying an Apache gunship tomorrow," to, "Nothing ever happens. The GOP always biffs it at the final step." So which is it? Let's assume for the sake of sanity that both are incorrect. Since a lot has happened, let's do a rundown on exactly what has transpired so far and how gun owners made it happen, and exactly what obstacles lie in front of us to get this over the finish line. The U.S. House just passed a reconciliation bill that could change the game for firearm suppressors, titled One Big, Beautiful Bill, as Trump puts it. It includes a provision to remove suppressors from the National Firearms Act. First, a little clarification. A reconciliation bill is one that includes hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of spending plans into one large, beautiful bill to keep the government running and pay for all its nonsense. Why this is important for our case is that a bill of this nature has different rules from standalone legislation. For starters, the language and provisions of the bill need to be focused around spending and taxation. Secondly, it is not susceptible to filibuster, meaning to pass the Senate, it only requires a simple majority instead of 60. For those who follow some of the more arcane aspects of parliamentary procedure, you'll understand very quickly why this is a boon for passing pro-gun legislation. But it also includes its fair share of hurdles. With that out of the way, let's continue. On May 12th, the House Ways and Means Committee dropped the first draft of the reconciliation bill. It included a provision to slash the suppressor tax from $200 to $0, but kept them under the restrictive NFA regulations. Now, while this would technically be a step in the right direction, NAGR and its members took the position that this was a half measure. Gun owners helped deliver the House, Senate, and the White House with the promise that our rights would be restored. What we and several other gun groups called for was Section 2 of the Hearing Protection Act, or HPA as we'll call it, to be included in this bill, as well as include language from the Short Act. These sections would fully remove suppressors from the NFA, in addition to removing SBRs, short-barreled shotguns, and AOWs from the NFA. Now, this would have been ideal. No more long waiting times, no more registries or fingerprints, and no more obsessions over barrel length and which stock you use. However, the answer from Republicans like Congressman David Kustoff was that this fee reduction was the best they could do. The bill passed out of Ways and Means without these needed additions. This did not sit well with gun owners. NAGR alone sent in tens of thousands of emails, petitions, and phone calls to Republicans urging them to fix the bill. So many, in fact, that House phone lines were shutting down periodically from the tsunami of phone calls. Our Hill lobbyists said that when they walked into offices, their phones rang the entire time as Hill staffers were talking about suppressors and the NFA to angry constituents. By May 14th, the bill moved to the House Budget Committee, still missing the full HPA language, so we doubled down. And this time, a large swath of the industry chimed in as well, with over 30 firearms industry leaders sending letters to Congress. Tensions boiled over, and the initial bill failed a House floor vote on May 16th. Why? Because gun owners refused to settle for half measures, also pushing for the Short Act to protect rifle owners. The message was clear: no HPA, no deal. Here's a clip of the author of the HPA, friend of NAGR, Andrew Clyde, on why he voted against the passage.
I would love to see a Second Amendment win in this bill, because I don't see any other way that we take back our constitutional rights other than through reconciliation, which is only a Republican, it's a partisan bill and requires only Republican votes. There's no Democrat, especially no 7 Democrat senators that are going to ever vote to give us back our constitutional rights.
The entire Republican House caucus got the memo, and House leadership got on board. On May 17th, the House Budget Committee reconvened and advanced the bill forward with the promise that a manager's amendment would be added with Section 2 of the HPA, fully removing suppressors from the NFA. The $0 tax cut stayed as a backup in case the Senate balked. The bill did not include language from the Short Act, but we'll get to that later. On May 21st, the House Rules Committee formally approved both the amendment and the underlying bill just minutes after the amendment became public on a late-night vote after a 20-hour marathon session. At this point, Democrats were really nervous that this is going to pass and spent a large chunk of their time spiraling out.
So let me get that right. That's 91 years of existing law that you want to upend in a Republican bill on behalf of the assassin lobby.
Because when a silencer happens, you don't really know where the shot's coming from. You don't know that it's happening.
As a combat veteran, a lifelong hunter and gun owner, I can tell you this has nothing to do with hearing protection.
I just want to call the body's attention to the fact that every 12 hours, on average, a woman in the United States is murdered by an intimate partner with a gun. A little bit more serious than maybe losing your hearing.
Like many of you, I can't say that I'm shocked. I'm disgusted.
Now, despite their tantrums and fish-shaped holes in the drywall, the Rules Committee finalized the bill, locking in the HPA provision. Then the House voted. After just 7 hours of debate this time, it was a nail-biter, passing 215 to 214. The one big, beautiful bill was headed to the Senate with Section 2 of the HPA intact. Some were already calling this a massive victory, but the absence of the Short Act and state preemption law to have states comply with the federal law left us wanting more. We began to direct our focus and prepared to do it all over again, this time in the Senate. So what's next? The bill's now in the Senate, where it needs just a simple majority to pass, thanks to how reconciliation bills work. But we're already hearing grumbling that many GOP senators might be getting cold feet. As of now, no senator has stepped forward to introduce Short Act provisions or state preemptive language. And if Section 2 of the HPA is removed, they might just shrug their shoulders and forget about it entirely. This is unacceptable. As gun owners, we have to step in and demand that they respect our constitutional rights, like they did the moment they signed up for their jobs. Now, we have a petition in the link below that we'll be delivering to senators calling for them to nuke the NFA. Look, gun owners didn't just sit back and hope for the best. We flooded Congress with so many calls and emails, we practically broke their switchboards. That's the power of us. The people who vote, shoot, refuse to let our rights get trampled. But here's the deal. The Senate's where good pro-gun language will go to die if we don't keep the heat on. The last thing we can afford right now as gun rights activists is for pro-gun language to be used as a bargaining chip in exchange for other items the swamp is pushing for in the reconciliation bill. And these senators, they work for us, not the other way around. If we can crash the House phone lines, we can do the same thing in the Senate. This is our best shot, not to just gut the NFA's stranglehold on suppressors, SBRs, and beyond, but to include state preemption language to strengthen the legal fight in anti-gun states. Don't let some spineless politicians fumble this at the finish line. And let's be real, the NFA's a relic, a dusty old law from 1934 that's been screwing over law-abiding gun owners for decades. Why are we still jumping through these hoops to own a suppressor that just makes shooting safer for our ears? I'm 20 years old, and I was raised around guns. I'm practically already going deaf. Why are we registering SBRs like we're criminals for wanting a shorter barrel? The House heard us loud and clear on one provision, but the Senate's got a bad habit of playing it safe. We need to remind them that gun owners delivered the votes last fall. Now it's their turn to deliver the freedom. So grab that petition link, call your senators, and tell them to use this once-in-a-generational opportunity to nuke the National Firearms Act. Thank you for watching.